Hey,
Hello, good morning, everyone, to the fifth episode of Build on Open Source. From wherever you are, if it's morning, afternoon, let us know in the chat where you're watching us from today. My name is Ricardo Suarez, developer advocate at AWS, and I'm joined by my good friend Derek. Derek, hello.
hey, Rick. I'm back. I'm back. Hello,
Yes.
I am developer advocate Derek Bingham, coming to you from Perth in Western Australia. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. So, what have you been up to this week, Derek?
Well, Rick, I missed out in the last episode. I checked it out during the week, and I think I would like to thank Matthias for doing a fantastic job. Although he does get confused about where I'm from. I actually spent a holiday in because I'm originally from Ireland, but living in Australia. I missed the greenery. As you know, Ireland's
Cool.
pretty green and lush, and you don't really get that too often in Australia. So I go and find these green places in Australia, and they
Oh,
do
nice.
exist. So I spent a week there, and that was fantastic and really nice and relaxing. What did I miss? What have we got
Well,
today?
what have we got today? We've got a great show for everyone today. So coming up shortly, we're going to do the normal roundup of open source news and updates. So we're going to look at last week's newsletter 131, and we're going to share a peek at the one that's going to be published on Monday. So lots of great stuff to share there. We're also going to talk a little bit about reInvent. Because reInvent,
what's this
it's
reinvent?
only 6 weeks away, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about reInvent. Then we're going to talk with a very special guest, Abhishek Gupta, who's going to be sharing about CDK8s and Go. Now, for those people who don't know what CDK8s is, it's CDK but for Kubernetes. So rather than synthesizing CloudFormation, it synthesizes all the configuration files for Kubernetes. So sounds really
and
good.
There's a lot. So it's good.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm quite new to Kubernetes, so but I love CDK, so I'm going to see. I'm really looking forward to that. And also, I don't really know much about Go, so it's all good stuff. And then we're going to finish up at the end with a roundup of stuff that you need to know. So hopefully it's going to be a packed show today.
Oh, as always, Rick, as always, really looking forward to Abhishek when he drops in, because I've never learned Go. It's one of the few languages that I've never built in. So looking forward to that. So shall we dive into our first transition? Because we love the transitions.
And I'm going to stay off the buttons this time.
Okay. Let me see your hands. Well done.
You see, I was good. I stayed off the hands. Although what I didn't do is I didn't position my newsletter. So as always, we have a GitHub repo which is going to have all the show notes for you to look at later on. So you can check this all out. So I'm going to start off with looking at the newsletter that we published last week. What I'm going to do actually, Derek, I'm going to start off with reInvent. So let's start off with reInvent because it's only it's 6 weeks away, and there's a few things we'd like to share with you. First of all, Derek and myself will be doing a live show from reInvent. Now we don't know yet what date and time it is, so we'll be sharing through the Twitter and socials when we know that. But we're going to be bringing you all the really cool stuff from reInvent that's open source related. So looking forward to that. But also importantly, we have slots available on the Build on Live. If you are going to reInvent and you're watching the show, we've got a link. So I'm not sure, Derek, if you can share that link.
Yes, I have the link, Rick, and cool. I'll put that up. It'll just pop up along the bottom.
Excellent.
Something I prepared earlier.
Nice. So if you fancy coming on the show, then click on that link, which will take you to a CFP process. And again, we'll share that link in the repo afterwards. We'd really love to see some of the community, appear on Build on Live. And this is how we're collecting, submissions. So if you are going and you fancy appearing on Build on Live, it doesn't have to be talking about open source, but it would be great if you were. Then use that link, sign up, or if you want to find out more, then kind of contact Derek and myself on social, and we'll let you know. So,
quick question from Alec: is anyone else streaming from reInvent? Yes, there is. We're going to have 3 days of streaming, live streaming from reInvent itself, as well as myself and Rick. There'll be other developer advocates streaming from reInvent and giving you all the latest updates from the conference itself. So it's going to be cool.
It is going to be really good, yeah. And I'm going to try and get in on a few other sessions as well, because I think the live stuff is always pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I'll see if I can push that link in the chat as well for everybody to copy. It's easier.
Nice. So cool. the other thing about reInvent is that obviously you can look at the agendas, and reserved seating was open, but I'm not sure if that's all finished now, because all the sessions have been up to their maximum capacity of 50%. Have already been signed up for, but check it out anyway. But there are 3 open source related sessions that I'm really looking forward to, but sadly I can't get to see because we're not allowed, are we, Derek, to watch these?
No, we're not. We're not special enough, which is fair enough because we're not special.
Is it? It's fair.
Yeah.
But still, it's better that our customers have priority on this. So, but these are the 3 ones I'm particularly looking forward to. So, the first one is Heitor's session on the journey that he's had on AWS Lambda Power Tools. So, AWS Lambda Power Tools is really kind of like an essential tool for anyone who's writing Lambda functions that does a lot of stuff. But what's interesting is that his session is sharing his journey, his lessons learned from the idea all the way to execution. So if you are an open source maintainer, you've got to check this session out. Okay. Now I think maximum, but you can still do walk up to that session. So make sure you check that session out.
Yeah. And anybody who hasn't used Lambda Power Tools in their building service applications, you should definitely check it out. It'll save you a lot of time.
Yeah, and also whilst I'm sharing these ones in the chat, love to hear if there's any sessions that have got your eye as well, open source or not. But yeah, share in the chat the ones that you're particularly interested in checking out. The second one is Abby Fuller's the security and handling of Log4Shell. So this one I can't wait, right? Because it's very rare that we actually talk about how we manage sort of incidents like this. But Abby's going to be diving deep into this, so definitely one to check out. And then the last one really is maintaining the Amplify framework in the open. So Matt and Ashish are going to be sharing how they currently do the engineering and engagement with the community. So those are 3 that I think are definitely worth checking out. Obviously, there are others as well. So there's over 20 open source workshops, chalk talks, and breakout sessions. So there's loads of really cool stuff. So
nice.
By sharing that stuff. So let's go back to last week's in the newsletter. So coming up next week as well, we have KubeCon. So it's all about events this first thing. So we have.
It's that time of year, Rick. It seems to be last quarter. Everybody has an event.
Yeah, and it's coming from Detroit this year, and AWS is going to have a big presence there. But I think some of the stuff is being streamed as well. So make sure if you are going, then check out this blog post from Phil and Avishal, who basically talk about some of the stuff we're doing and some of the stuff you can expect. So cool stuff there. Right, let's actually look at some code and projects, right?
Yeah, go on there.
This is what we really want, right? So last week we shared some really interesting projects, okay, and certainly some of them have definitely grabbed the attention from looking at the metrics. So the first one is a Go Kafka client for event sourcing application. So again, if you're kind of carrying on with the Go theme today, this allows you to easily create events that's to stream into Kafka if you're using Go. So really cool stuff. The next one is Somod. Okay, now it took me a while to kind of get.
Yeah, I read this myself. I went.
Yeah, but if I look at the documentation, what this is, it's like a new framework really that allows you to create. It's like a template and easily create serverless applications. So if you're looking to simplify and get started, give it a go. There's a few of these around, but this is a new one. So, and I know they're looking for feedback. So, if you're a serverless developer, check that project out. If you use Security Hub, which is the single pane of glass way of bringing in all your security information within AWS, it doesn't have a CLI, but it does now. MetaHub is a new CLI from Gabriel Saltz, so very cool. If you are a CLI junkie like myself, then now you have a way of interacting with it, which you didn't have before.
Yeah, and if you want to find out our love for ASCII art in the
Oh.
CLI, check out episode 1.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, in fact, anyone who's creating CLIs generally, one way to get our attention is put lots of ASCII art in there, and then you will be to the top of the list.
100%.
Yeah. So we've got a few others. We got a Terraform module to simplify how you deploy guard duties, which is helpful for Terraform users. Now, project tools is an interesting one, right? So this is not directly related to OpenSearch itself, but it's a tool they use to get information around contributors in their project. So if you're a maintainer and you want to get a whole bunch of information about issues, pull requests, contributor stats, then you can use this tool, right? They've open sourced it, so definitely one for our maintainers to check out.
Yes.
Next one is EKS Event Watcher, right? So this is an interesting one. I've been meaning to try this one out, but haven't got around to it yet. But effectively, kind of the way the thing I've got in my mind is it's like a tail -F, right? For your CloudWatch events in your EKS environments. So this could be quite useful as you're developing and you want to get a kind of deeper understanding of what's happening in your EKS environments and applications. So very useful. I know that I don't know about you, Derek, but when I'm doing stuff with Kubernetes, it's like a magic box. You do stuff.
Stuff happens.
And stuff happens. And I call me old-fashioned, but I like to see standard out and standard right? And so I'm often reaching for the EKS, or kubectl logs. So I'm hoping this is going to actually make my life a bit easier in that sense. So
yeah, for sure. Let's hope so. Yeah. Well, what was interesting, Rick, was you said tail -F. Well, I would have said tail -F. I think we've got another entry into the pineapple, not pineapple.
Yeah. Well, hold that thought.
Oh, sorry.
Hold that thought. Yeah, that is coming up. Yes, our new. For those people, the pineapple board.
Yes,
will be
important.
Later
the most important part of the show.
Yeah, once Abhishek comes on, we will find out whether he's on your side or my side. Right, because we've also last week we had a couple of so that was the kind of tool section, some demos and samples. ListMonk, actually, I didn't know what ListMonk was. Actually, it's an open source kind of newsletter management and mailing system, and it's actually pretty nice. It's got a really cool UI, and if you are using it or you're looking for that solution, then luckily for you, we've now got a pre-baked, ready to go way of deploying this with one click. So check it out. If you're looking for a mailing list solution and newsletter management solution, this could be just what you need.
Nice. Letter management.
Yeah. Actually, and this week there's another interesting one, which I'm going to share in a second. Also, last week we had a couple of projects around Glue. Okay, and what was interesting about these was they were solutions that allow you to effectively use Glue and orchestrate various ETL and ELT jobs using Glue and using CDK. So if you're using or building data lakes, if you're doing analytics, okay, and you're looking for reference solutions of how to move data into AWS, then check these ones out. The first one is the RDMS to data lake at scale. And then the second one is the Glue CDK CI/CD, which is really nice, okay, and allows you to build a full pipeline that's provisioned through CDK. So some really cool stuff there.
Yep, because that's a lot of code. That's quite complex to do on your own.
Yeah, and of course, as always, 4 freedoms mean that you don't have to use it as is, right? You can basically just use it, review it, and then just take what you want, which is what I normally do. When I'm doing my demos, I look to these to get inspiration and then take the bits that I can use for the demos that we do on our talks, Derek.
Yeah, cool. Brilliant.
Right, so the new newsletter, which is Super Secret Squirrels. You're seeing this on Twitch for the first time. It will be published on Monday, and towards the end of the show, we're going to publish a QR code for feedback, and you'll get access to this. So you'll get first dibs on this. So let's look at the projects that we've got. The first one is Duvet. Now, Duvet has been consuming my mind for the last 24 hours, actually. It's a tool. And not
Is
because
it duvet? You know, it could be duvet.
no, it's duvet. Without a hyphen. So I haven't quite got my head around this yet. But effectively, what it is, it's a way of when you're developing software that has standards. Now, I've done standards work in the past, okay, and one of the interesting things about standards is, creating a standards approach, the way you have things that are mandatory, nice to have, optional. And so what this tool does, it allows you to, within your code, reference stuff that's mandatory, optional, etc., through an RFC process, which is typically the way that you define the stuff you want to build, reference architecture. It's used very heavily in open source, but also outside of open source. And this tool allows you to effectively almost like do unit testing of that. But I haven't quite got my head around how it works yet. So there are a few AWS SDKs that are using it. So I've been using those to try and explore. But I shared it because it was open sourced last week. And it could be useful if you're doing a lot of standard-based work and you're looking for help with tooling to help make sure that the code you're producing is matching up to the RFC spec that you're actually creating. So could be interesting. I'd like to dive deeper into that one, but yeah, it's one of those ones that could be game changing for helping to ensure consistency really, and making sure that you're adhering to your specifications.
Yeah, for sure. Take a lot of the cognitive load off the builder. For sure.
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing, right? That's what I like about RFCs and open source is that it allows one version of the truth. Everyone knows what they're building, right? So that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Harinder Sira, who has done other GUI tools, but I sadly can't try this because I don't have Windows. So anyone out there who has Windows, then let me know how you get on with this. But AWS Lambda Explorer is a GUI to explore your Lambda functions. So very nice. So thank you, Harinder, for sharing that. And if you are a Windows user, please check it out and share with Harinder, your gratitude or your feedback. K3s. I'm not sure actually how you say that. How do you say that? K3s or I don't know.
I actually don't know. It's the first time I've come across it.
So it's a lightweight Kubernetes. So I've come across it, and typically it's something you use in low compute or edge type scenarios.
Yep.
But this is a reference solution around how to deploy it, on on AWS, and it's specifically designed around Graviton instances, right? So very, very nice indeed. Maybe Abhishek later on when he might know more about it than we do, so we'll ask him.
Let's hope so. Somebody must know.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of lots of other Kubernetes tools like KubeMini and KubeD and all that, but K3s, it's not one I've used. So, Snow Transfer Tool, okay, interesting tool. We have these snow devices, small ones, snow cones, to big ones, which are you can throw a bomb at them and they'll carry on going. And this is a tool that allows you to migrate data onto them, right? So if you're in the business of moving data to snowball devices, check this tool out. It might make your life easier.
Oh, Pimp Ninja says it's K3s. Thank you, Pimp Ninja. That's a really interesting name as well, by the way.
Yes,
K3s.
But now we know K3s. I shall call it.
There we go.
From this day forth. It shall be K3s. Sounds like a band though. Sounds like a really bad 80s band. So but it's
Pimp Ninja or K3s.
Both. Both. Right. So following that, we've got a new VS Code plugin created by Damon Cortese, who's a developer advocate for Amazon EMR. And if you are using Amazon EMR and you love VS Code, then this is for you. And check out the project. It's got some screen codes of how this hopefully will make your life easier. Still, he's still looking for people to provide feedback. And I am actually providing a challenge coin here. If you use this, if you're using EMR, you're using his extension, and you provide some feedback, let me know. I'll be speaking to Damon about this, and I'll provide challenge coins for the best feedback. So there you go.
Just in case people watching have not seen the glorious challenge coin,
the challenge coin.
You can't be offering things.
Look at that. Look at this. shiny.
A real build on open source
it's
coin.
real. It's got some real weight to it, and it's just beautiful. You know, I want to give these away. I mean, our speakers get them, so anyone who appears on the show gets one. If you do one of the challenges we've had early on in the year, you'll get one for the best contribution. And occasionally, like this, I'm generous and I want to give a coin away. So
you're very generous.
I am. Yes. I think so. Yes. So check out that toolkit and kick the tires. And I'll be looking at the feedback. And if anything really impresses me, I'm sending you one of these challenge coins. So just to wrap up this piece with demos, Discourse, okay, is a community discussion tool. Very nice. It's got a really nice UI. I've used it in the past. And we've now got a very easy way for you to deploy AWS via CDK. And it's a very nice, robust configuration, right? So if you are doing this yourself today or wanted to do it, now you can do this really, really easy through this repo. So really like that.
When I first read this, Rick, I was like, Discord? Is that supposed to be Discord? This
no,
this is around at the minute.
Yeah, I know.
My opinion.
Yeah.
This and this, that.
It's not Discord. Yeah, it's different. No. Yeah,
it's Discourse.
It's a different tool.
So having a discourse, not a Discord.
Having a discourse about Discord. Yeah. So just the final two before we finish up the round. Image optimization, okay, very important. As this repo says, can impact your SEO, but also it's important, right? We want to try and reduce the amount of traffic and bytes we send, reduce our impact on the environment by storing less files. So this is a way to effectively serve up, deliver more optimized images. So it's a sample kind of solution. So give it a go, and maybe you can incorporate this into your design. And then the last one really is this one. So GTFS, I did not know what this was actually, but it is apparently a way of standardizing the data you get in public transport.
Yeah.
And so what they've done is they've created a sample application. Let's actually show you, because I think I show it here actually. Here it is. Here's a sample that allows you to grab the data feeds, which you can configure in the project, and then effectively build your own public transport ticketing app. Which is kind of neat, actually. If you're not happy with the way you get tickets today in your own country, then see if you've got a GTF feed and integrate it and build maybe using this reference project. So very nice indeed. So nice. That really is a roundup, Derek, of the latest open source projects. I won't go through posts because I want to make sure that we got enough time for Abhishek to bring.
Okay.
And so I think we're now ready for bringing our guest in.
Well, let's see. Nice transition too.
Yay!
Hello.
It worked.
Hello. And Derek, I did not touch any buttons, right? So it all worked this time.
It was so smooth. It was almost as if we planned it, Rick. Almost as if we planned it.
So Abhishek, very nice to have you on the show. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Abhishek, developer advocate here at AWS. Same team as Derek and Ricardo, actually, right? So we have 3 dev advocates on the show. Nothing can possibly go wrong, I guess. I'm joining you from New Delhi, India. Nice and sunny. Busy past few days, to be honest. Yeah, festival month here. My house has been undergoing some revamping as well. So I just keeping things busy. Yeah, been fine.
Yeah. Happy Diwali.
Yeah.
Diwali.
Diwali. That's next week. Yeah, on Monday. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So what can you? Because forgive my ignorance. Diwali is it a festival of light? Is that the one?
That's right.
Okay.
The festival of lights.
Oh, nice.
I'm pretty sure you will see it around in UK and even folks celebrating in Australia. I'm pretty confident, Derek. Yeah.
Nice. So Abhishek, what are you going to be talking about today?
I will talk about CDK8s and Go. CDK8s is CDK for Kubernetes. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. And I can actually kick off and share my screen if that's okay, Ricardo.
Yeah. But before, the important thing though, Abhishek, before we do this, right? Okay, there's one very important thing that you've got to tell us, right? So,
all right.
So you can see we have you here, right? This is a very lovely picture of you, and we need you to which side of the fence are you? Are you on do you like pizza, pineapple on your pizza, or are you with Derek and would much rather die than have pineapple on your pizza? Which side of the fence? Or are you like Matthias, who doesn't care, he'll eat anything? You know,
no.
So
I'm very
which
opinionated.
side?
I'm very opinionated about everything. Same goes for pineapple on pizza. I'm on Derek's side actually. No
Oh
pineapple.
no!
Thank you.
Yeah, on this side. This is not looking good. This is not looking good.
You get
Actually,
fruit.
I've moved Derek over here somehow.
Yeah,
for some reason.
well, actually, Rick, I'll tell you the truth. I love pineapple on pizza. I don't know what you're trying to create a chasm in our relationship by putting me on the I don't like pineapple on pizza.
Oh, sorry, you do. You do. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry, I've got confused. Okay, I can relax now. Okay, well there we are, Abhishek. That's the most important thing. You are now firmly in this camp, and I won't.
No pineapple.
I'm even very selective on the meat as well. Like, I'm very conservative, like chicken and lamb, that's it. Like, so forget about pineapple. That's like far away.
Yeah. As John says, pineapple only goes into a pina colada. Love it.
Wow, that's what we're missing today on the show. Thanks, John, for that. We need to know pina coladas. Right, so let's go back to business. Let's bring your screen back, and the floor is yours, Abhishek.
Awesome.
Actually, before we start, so do you know K3s? Do you know about K3s?
Yeah, K3s. So yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't used it a lot, to be very honest with you. So from what I recall, it's like a very, very lightweight Kubernetes distribution. I think more optimized for edge, I guess. Yeah. Right. I think the main thing there is, I think it's like compressed into very, very small single binary, right? So I think that makes it very optimal for resource constrained devices or places.
Okay,
good stuff. But that's all I know, to be honest. Yeah. I haven't tried it.
Okay, cool stuff. Right.
All right. Yeah. But speaking of Kubernetes, so before I dive in, I just want to take this. I just want to step back and give you some context, right? And of course, I don't want you to read all of this right now. I'm just showing this off, because I wrote it. Just kidding, of course. But anyway, so you may be using things like Terraform or AWS CloudFormation. They're very, very popular, or maybe similar tools to define, your infrastructure, your resources, and whatnot. And this is infrastructure as code. It's a very, very well-established paradigm. So nothing new or fancy here. And if you look at Kubernetes, it's kind of the same. There is YAML, which is the lingua franca of the Kubernetes world. So we have lots of tooling in Kubernetes, like Helm and Customize, or maybe, our hands, right? We like writing YAML by hand. Some people do. I don't. But then, yeah, that's that. But let's just take a step back, and rather than thinking about infrastructure as code, perhaps we want to think about infrastructure is code, that paradigm or a different paradigm or a context.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the is code part. And I didn't invent this part, the infrastructure is code. It's been sort of floating around. So the idea is, instead of writing, say, JSON or YAML, we can use standard programming languages, which we like and love, like Go or Java or Python and so on and so forth. Use your classes, your methods, your unit testing, and so on and so forth, and just use that to define your infrastructure, right? And over the years, many popular solutions have popped up. It's not new, to be honest with you. So there's AWS CDK, there's Pulumi, which I've tried as well. Bunch of other solutions, right? So but today, all right, I'm going to carry on. But today, like I said, it's going to be about CDK8s, which is CDK for Kubernetes, open source project, part of CNCF, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. And in very, very simple terms, if I have to just give you a gist, it's this framework which you can use to define and model your Kubernetes resources and applications, but in code, not using YAML or other templating languages. So I'm talking too much. What I'm going to do is just show you something useful and switch over to code, and I hope you can see this properly. So I want to, when I talk about CDK8s, I want to start by talking about how would you typically use it, right? If you were to try that out. So conceptually, it's very, very simple. As you can see here, the high-level workflow. So typically what you do is you bootstrap a project, a CDK8s project, write some code to define your Kubernetes application. I'm going to show you that as to how to do that pretty soon. And once you write your code, you ask CDK8s to convert that code into YAML. So yes, YAML is still there, but then it's kind of behind the scenes. And once you have that YAML manifest, it's really up to you as to how you want to use it, how you want to apply it, right? The same things apply. So in addition to being a framework, CDK8s actually gives you a CLI as well. So that's what I'm going to start using here.
Abhishek, how aligned or how similar for those people who are maybe watching and use CDK? How similar is it in concept then to CDK? Because in CDK you've got the concept of a project. It synthesizes to CloudFormation.
Right.
On your workflow, you've got this thing, the arrow underneath project, which has constructs. So what that bit? Is that different? Is that new? Is it different?
It's not new actually. Conceptually, it's very same. So if you have been using CDK, you'll find CDK. It's pretty natural, and even if you're not from the Kubernetes world, right? So CDK8s follows the same concept of constructs, and just like CDK converts your code into CloudFormation templates, CDK8s converts it into YAML file. That's the only difference. Otherwise, there are parallelisms in terms of both concepts and both work.
And when you do a CDK deploy, it actually deploys that as well into AWS, right? So is there an equivalent in CDK8s as well?
So things work a little differently in CDK8. So what it actually stops at the point where it gives you that YAML file. And like I said, once you have that YAML file, it's up to you. You use your favorite tool in kubectl in most cases, or kubectl, however you want to call
it. I'm a kubectl.
There's another one. Kubectl.
I'm kind of on the fence. Yeah, kubectl, kubectl, kubectl. So once you get that YAML, that's it, right? And that's what I want to show you today. And before I go ahead, right? So not just about kubectl, so you can incorporate that into your current GitOps workflow as well, right? So you have this repo, you do CDK8s synth, get that YAML file, and then continue on. So you can plug that into your existing GitOps workflow if you so wish to.
Right,
so that's I'm not going to show that today. Don't have time, but then something for you to think about. Maybe I'll write a blog about it later.
Sounds good. Well, if you write it, I'll publish it in the newsletter.
All right, so thanks. Oh, by the way, on the newsletter, I absolutely love it, but it's a little light on the Go part, except for today. I saw you included the Go Kafka thingy.
Yeah, that's for you. That was especially for you. That was.
I kind of guessed that, So actually, I saw that pop up in the Golang Slack. Like, it's really, really fresh. I think 3 or 4 days back, I saw that, hey, this new thing has come up. I haven't even tried it, to be honest. I will pretty soon, but it sounds very, very interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd love to have more Go stuff, right? But it doesn't seem to be. I don't find as much Go stuff as I find other stuff. So maybe, if people are tuning in either now or post show, get in touch. If you're doing some cool stuff with Go and AWS, get in touch.
Yeah.
I'd love to feature it.
Absolutely. I'll keep bugging you and I'll ask folks to chime in as well. All right. Awesome. I'm going to move to the thing. So I'm going to just quickly create this demo directory and change over to it. And so to begin with, I'm going to bootstrap, like I said, you can bootstrap a CDK8s application using the CLI, CDK8s. And all you do is init. And because it supports multiple languages, I'm going to call out, that I want to use Go in this case, right? So it's initializing a project from the Go app template. It's going to take a few seconds, hopefully, right? So basically what I do is I start off with an empty directory, and literally I ask CDK8 CLI to give me something to work with. And what it did is come back to me with this very, very simple yet, very, very useful, starting point from where I can, build on the rest of the stuff. And talking about, parallelisms to CDK and, some of the terminology, just like CDK, every CDK8s application also has a tree of components, and they're called constructs. So you have charts, you have an application, right? So very similar to CDK in that way. And as you can see, this function here returns a CDK8s chart, and you can put one or more charts inside of an app, right? And this app is sort of the root of the tree, so to speak. So that's how this hierarchy of objects is structured within CDK8s. So what I'm going to do is, this chart is empty right now. So just define something very simple. Our favorite Hello World Kubernetes, the Nginx deployment, right? And in the interest of time, I'm going to copy paste some code. My apologies, but if you don't like that, but we all have limited time, so I'm going to copy paste this thing and fix a couple of imports here so that it just compiles. Although I don't need it to compile, but still, right? So if you see over here. Right, even if you have deployed a very, very simple Kubernetes application using your good old YAML file, you'll be very, very familiar with these things, right? So things like labels and selectors, and I have a container here. I have a deployment where I associate that container with. So just like you would define a YAML manifest. But the big difference here is that this is now in the form of code. This just happens to be Golang, but CDK8s also supports Python, TypeScript, and Java as well. Okay.
So Abhishek, so what you don't in here, you're defining a new Helm chart that you want to deploy. Is that right?
No, this is not a Helm chart. This is actually going to convert itself when I do that thing. So when I synthesize this piece of Go code, it's going to convert into a YAML manifest. But yes, talking about Helm, there is actually a feature in CDK8s to import existing Helm charts as well. So, but that's a different discussion altogether. So right now I'm defining, in this case, I'm defining, so chart just, I think maybe it's confusing. So chart is both a Helm chart related construct or a concept, as well as, CDK8's concept as well. So
I think that's what I got confused. I thought it was the same. I thought, oh, is this something to do with CDK8s, or is it actually a Helm thing?
Right.
And actually, at the top, when you had your import statements, okay. So with CDKs, okay, with CDK, you can import. You have the base and the core constructs, and you can import additional ones, right? So is that the same thing here with CDK8s?
Exactly. So this is the core CDK8s library, which I've imported here. And there's some other options as well. I'm going to talk about that pretty soon. But yeah, this is like the bare bones CDK8s app which you can build using the core library. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, this is just the same old things, like a selector and a label and a container, right? So yeah, but what I want to tell you, the important part here is that this is obviously very simple, and you might think this is enough, but at the same time, if you use this, it's going to get very verbose, especially if you build some complex stuff or some real-world production applications. So for that, there is something else which I'm going to show you real quick when I switch to that project. Oops. Typos.
What VS Code theme is this? Is this the default theme?
Yeah, just give me a second here.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, this is the basic one. Yeah, the default, the GitHub one.
Yeah.
Okay.
You very rarely see the light side of the force. Sorry, the light side.
Yeah, I had the other one, the dark one before. Yeah, I had the dark one.
I use the light one when I'm presenting at events, because otherwise it's really hard for people to see, right? So I love default dark, but when presenting light, it seems to be a good combination.
Okay, I've never tried that. I'm gonna try that. Okay, sorry,
I've tried that enough. So yeah, just switching things for a bit. All right. So what are you seeing now? So you're looking at a different API, a different flavor of API for CDK8s. I was using the core API first, and now I'm using CDK8s Plus. And this 22, which you see, is actually confirms to the Kubernetes versions here. So this is for 1.22, and you can use 2.3 and I believe 2.5 is the latest. But anyway, right? So the idea really here is for the API to be much more natural and intuitive, and maybe you may not be able to appreciate it in a very, very small app like this, because it just has a deployment and a container and a service, although it's more than enough for a production grade Kubernetes application. But that's the whole point, for this API to be much more cleaner and natural and intuitive, right? So what I'm going to do is now, as I was saying, I'm going to convert all this code into YAML file, right? So for that, I'm going to do CDK8s synth, or synthesize, short for synthesize, and it's going to weave all its magic, do a lot of things in the background, and at the end of the day, it's going to spit out this YAML file, right, for you in the standard dist folder. So this should not be surprising for any Kubernetes developer, like experienced or new, right? So standard stuff here. So we have a deployment.
It's a config file.
yeah, all the code for this, right? But trust me,
I don't think I've ever created a Kubernetes manifest first time that works, right? So
most likely, if you try the code way, most likely it'll work. You have
I like this. I had a question though on the code, right, where you had the v22 construct. Okay, does CDK, is it version specific then? Do you need to have different versions for different versions of Kubernetes?
Yes. So if you wanted something from the 1.23 Kubernetes API, you wouldn't get that in CDK8s plus 22. So yes, but all the promises of backward compatibility apply.
So you can do 2120 with this one, but you can't do 23.
Exactly.
So it's all backwards, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, good to know.
That's how it works. So it's very, very explicit and very clear in terms of, hey, use this particular package or versioning scheme if you want to confirm to your Kubernetes stuff. Okay. So moving on to the YAML here. So standard stuff, service and deployment, nothing new. So I can actually go ahead and simply deploy this thingy without further delay. I'm just using a local Kubernetes in Docker cluster here. Nothing else. Everything is local. So I'm going to just apply the contents of this dist folder, which is this YAML file. And if I do kubectl get spot, then I'm just going to do copy paste for now. So we have Nginx pod running here, and we should also see a service. So we have this load balancer service. So everything which we had specified in the code, and ultimately the YAML. Yeah, and if I wanted to access this, of course, I could do that as well. Because this is a local instance, I'm going to just simply port forward to this particular service in this case, and I have my ports already mapped and everything. And yeah, I mean, nothing too fancy here. I can go back to my browser and access the Nginx instance here. So again, nothing fancy, but I'm going to move on. Yeah.
So just to recap what you did there. Okay, so you're running on your laptop. You're running Kind, which is basically Kubernetes and Docker, and your kubectl's context is configured for that, so that every time you run the command, it's running to your local instance. So for people there, just to recap, we've used CDK8s to create a very simple Nginx CDK8s app. Abhishek, you've synthesized that to the Kubernetes standard Kubernetes manifest files, and then you've just done a kubectl deploy or apply, sorry, and that's it. Simple as that.
That's it. That's it. Right. So it stops at that synthesized part, and then from there on, you can do your thing, GitOps or kubectl apply or whatever you wish to. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. I want to show you one more thing, at least one more thing. So what I'm going to do is move on to something a little bit more complex, right? So I'm going to spin up a WordPress instance, with, the WordPress deployment as well as along with MySQL. So just to show things off a little bit. So let me just switch over to that real quick here. Oops, a second while I figure out my windows and everything. Yeah. All right. So I have this WordPress thingy here now.
Okay.
And lots of things going on here. Don't worry about all those things. Yeah. So, but basically, all I'm doing is this just a little, a complex example of what I already show here. So we have two charts here. One for the MySQL, deployment and all the other things. And if I were to scroll down real quick here, the other one is for WordPress. Nothing different. I'm using the CDK8s Plus API, but in addition to the standard deployment and service, I'm also like defining a secret. And then a deployment and a container. And the most important part is here for MySQL, for instance, in this example, I'm defining a persistent volume and persistent volume claim as well. So PV and PVCs in the Kubernetes world, right? Because MySQL is a stateful component. Same with WordPress, to be honest with you. But again, there is a caveat here, right? You can write all of this yourself, but doing this repeatedly is going to be a pain, right? Think about a big or even a medium-sized organization. You don't want to do this again and again and again. But so for that, CDK8s actually has this concept of custom constructs, right? So I'm going to switch over to another project real quick. Sorry about the back and forth and switches, but
it's okay. We love it. We love this. Really,
certainly your switching capabilities are elite.
Yes.
Alrighty.
My brain, I've got all these different screens, and
three fingers up if you're on a Mac, just to view them all.
yeah, totally.
I know. All right, so excuse me. Sorry. As soon as you said, I messed it up. All right, so you're looking at an example of a custom construct. No, now imagine if you wanted to spin up a WordPress deployment and all you needed to do was to bootstrap a CDK8s application and just enter or use this function, right?
Wow, that's pretty cool.
I just want to spin up a new stack, which is WordPress. I just and these are of course just for demo, right? You typically don't provide passwords this way, so don't sort of quote me on that. This is just an example. But beneath this function, if I were to go into this, right? The piece of code which I had like in the previous example, all that is encapsulated within the simplified sort of this abstraction of this function right here. And notice, right, this actually does not return a chart. This returns a construct. So I've created a custom construct here, which I go back to my main.go file, which I use within my chart, right? So that's the whole point. So essentially, this allows for reusability. And CDK8s has a very, very, even CDK and both CDK8s have a very, very rich ecosystem of these custom constructs. So they're reusable. You can pick and choose and make life easier for yourself. Right?
So, just a question on the on this. You've got secrets, okay, here. How when I've done Kubernetes stuff, okay, I either configure it to use Secrets Manager, or I define secrets YAML files and get Kubernetes to manage them. How do you? I mean, does this, what you're showing us, does this create a separate a secret manifest that basically you then deploy onto your Kubernetes?
Yes.
Right.
What is, I mean, and again, I wouldn't advise you to follow this because you're sort of providing your secrets within the code. So you'll have sort of a different way of doing it. But and you know what? Actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to show that to you as to what happens when you actually synthesize this, right? And you convert that into YAML. So same old thing. So I just did a CDK8 synth. And if I were to quickly show you this YAML, so you would notice that if I were to scroll up. So you see it's created a secret at the end of the day. It's just that you didn't write it by hand. But, and ultimately,
but I guess obviously, like you said, the secret's still in the code, so you definitely don't want to commit this to source code, right? So
absolutely.
Okay. So how if you were doing this for real, how would you manage that?
Right. So typically you would, I mean, for managing secret, there's a whole ecosystem out there. There's like HashiCorp Vault and a bunch of other, sort of very, very hardened, production hardened tools. So you would typically do that for secret management and anything sensitive for that matter, right? So that's how it's done in production, typically.
Right.
HashiCorp Vault is definitely a very, very popular tool.
And what about how would you? So obviously here you've defined the password in this text file, right? In the YAML file, right?
Yeah.
How would you, when you're approaching creating like the WordPress example, how would you approach doing this but without defining the password in the actual code itself?
Yeah, so you could pass that into your code using, say, environment variables, or you could auto-generate them and so on and so forth, and plug that with the rest of your ecosystem. Okay. There are a bunch of ways to do it, but yeah, definitely not hard coding that. And the one which you see here, actually, so there's this concept of a base 64 encoded data as well. I'm just using string data here, but then that doesn't give you high level sort of protection for that matter. It's just base 64 encoded. So there's an option to use that as well over here. But then just for this demo, I've used string data here. But that's like I said, very, very superficial way of sort of handling your secret. There's more to sort of secret management and handling than that.
Good stuff.
That makes sense. Yeah, but going back to what I was saying, all that we specified within our code is ultimately here in the YAML. The secret and the way we actually reference the secret is over here. If I were to scroll down, good old way, like nothing fancy here, right? So I can quickly go ahead and apply this, the contents of this the dist folder, and that would sort of spin things up, and I can quickly check how things are going. So yeah, as you can see, the WordPress MySQL deployment is sort of okay. So that was quick. So MySQL deployment and the WordPress deployment were up and running in no time. Of course, I did some tricks. But anyway, I did it live, but then
is that a really fast machine?
I guess so. It's a new one. Thank you. Thanks to my employer. This is a new one.
we have a question. Okay, for secrets, we could use AWS secrets and configuration provider AS.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah. But in the open source world, typically, again, like I said, HashiCorp Vault is very, very popular as well. But yes, AWS Secrets Manager kind of goes without saying. But yes, you can do that. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, so the persistent volumes and the persistent volume claims as well, just showing you they're all bound up and ready. And I guess I can go ahead and access my WordPress instance and maybe even write a blog. I don't know.
Go on. That would be a demo and a half. Right.
I love blogging, right? So I opened this up on port 8080. So let me see how things are going there. So localhost 8080 and boom. So this is
in the screen.
I am in, sir. Yes. So yeah, I can do all these shenanigans and have fun with it and deploy. Of course, I'm having fun right now. and I I've set up my WordPress, and I can go ahead and log in and do all sorts of things. And yeah, anyway, so you have a MySQL, you spun up a MySQL deployment, a WordPress deployment, combine that with in the form of an entire stack, and boom, that's it, right? So
nice.
build on.
So effectively, what you've just shown there is probably one of the easiest ways of getting from pure code
Exactly
to a Kubernetes hosted WordPress site in a few clicks.
Yes, sir, of course. And like I said, I mean, there were a few things from a production, point of view, like we discussed, the secret management and password and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, if I were to go back here and look at the code, it's all about, creating these, the point I want to get across is creating these reusable components. So you have stuff on open source already. The CDK and CDK8s ecosystem of constructs is very, very rich. But of course, if you want to sort of constrain that within your team, within your organization, feel free to do that. And sort of pick and choose from what you want.
You touch upon an interesting point. So in the last couple of community events I've been to, where there have been CDK sessions and CDK discussions, what's been interesting is there's been a move by I'm not saying it's mainly the larger kind of enterprise kind of customers, but they certainly seem to embrace this model of, as an organization, that they're moving towards creating constructs within their organizations, and it's almost like replacing the platform engineering teams. And so rather than a platform engineering team needing to do stuff, they create a construct, and that's what they use internally, right? So to help them kind of create those reusable patterns internally. And that's super interesting, right? That's super interesting. And it's not just the construct hub you're showing here, but there's also the CDK patterns as well, that provide blueprints for how to do more complicated solutions. So it's definitely, and I guess, you could, most of that stuff is on CDK, right? But you could apply the same principle with what you're showing here.
Absolutely. Yes. Like I said, a lot of parallels between CDK and CDK8s, not just the name, the concepts, the constructs and everything, and the ecosystem as well. So yes. And by the way, they are interoperable, CDK and CDK8s. I don't have time to do that or show that off, but then you can go ahead and read some of my stuff, which Derek thankfully popped in between. But I've written a bunch of stuff on that topic as well. You should find that interesting if you want to sort of have a single pane of glass, so to speak. I've gotten used to that term as a PM, single pane of glass to sort of manage to manage your infrastructure and your Kubernetes applications potentially, and so on and so forth. So that's pretty interesting. Something for you to check out. I think that I'll pause at that. Because I had another thing I want to show off, but then we don't have time.
Okay.
Next time we have to come back, Abhishek. I was just going to say that we have a GitHub repo with all of the links of today's show. So if you missed the chat, I posted them in the chat, as well as to put them on screen, but they're also in the GitHub repo. So you can go there and read Abhishek's excellent blog series on Go.
And of course the CDK8s documentation itself, right? It's pretty rich. There are a lot of good examples and good stuff there. So definitely check it out. And I like this. But
Right. So Derek, I think it's time for the final transition of today.
It is, Rick, and I am absolutely 100% all over it as usual, because that's just the way the challenge. Was that the right one?
It was the right one. It was the right one. Yes. Right. So we've got 5 minutes left. So I want to.
I did it.
Okay. I will let you off.
Okay.
So before we close, I want to remind everyone again. We've got reInvent coming up. For if you just joined halfway through, if you're coming to reInvent, we would love to see you on one of the Build on Live episodes. We've got a little CFP process going, so we'll share the link both in the repo, but maybe we can share the link now. But I do want to close and finish up with just a reminder of some of the events that are happening over the next couple of weeks. So if you are at KubeCon next week, the open source team have got a party. It's called Open Source After Dark. Now, we did this at Valencia, and it was amazing. And we're doing it again at KubeCon in Detroit next week. So if you are going, make sure you sign up, because this is only by invite, and it's definitely worth going. I've been privy to some of the stuff that's going on, and you do not want to miss this pie. So it's during the week. It's after the sessions of the day. So definitely check that out.
Are you going to be there, Rick? Are you going?
No, I'm not. Sadly, I'm not.
Oh.
I won't be there because I've got another event I'm doing. So, but I went to the one in Valencia, and I think once a year is probably my limit of KubeCon. But there are going to be some great sessions there. So definitely check that out. And we've got some other stuff happening. So next episode of Build on Open Source in a couple of weeks' time. Really happy that we're going to have one of our former colleagues, Javier Ramirez, talking about QuestDB. QuestDB is a blazingly fast time series database that's built on Java, completely open source, and I'm really looking forward to that. So that's on November 4th. We've got a whole bunch of other events as well. So make sure you check out this section to keep up to date with those events. So that's that. Finally, before we close, the newsletter that we went through earlier on, that's available on Monday. I'll publish it on Monday. If you want access before Monday, then please complete the survey, and it will send you a link. The link will give you the newsletter, and you'll have access to those lovely open source projects before anyone else. Yeah. So I think
power. Just think of the power you have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, having stuff early is always good, right?
Yep.
And so please, it's only a short survey, and we're using that to help us understand how we can better support open source at AWS. So that's pretty much it from me. Abhishek, I want to thank you for coming on and talking to us and sharing your knowledge on CDK8s and Go. Look forward to hearing more about Go in future episodes. So,
You bet. Thanks so much for having me, folks. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Abhishek. It was fantastic. Thank you.
Awesome.
And I think, Derek, that's
it. I think we're done. See you all in 2 weeks. Fill in the survey if you want to see us at real event. And until either of those happens, we'll see you again. Goodbye.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks. Bye, folks.